Hi everyone, Snipe Train here. Today is Friday, April 30, and I'll be going over my recap for today. So today I made a total of 555 total between my two brokers. 696 of them were from my TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim account, and 141 loss on my Trade Zero. So I'll be going over each ideas and my thought process on why I take the trades I did. But just to remind everyone that I trade these two setups, both on the long side and the short side. So day in and out, just waiting for these setups to form patiently, and then taking those as the opportunity provides. So let's start with my recap here and start from the top here with my Thinkorswim account. So FAMI with a $246 win. So actually it was up like 450 unrealized here, but I didn't take enough shares off on the top here. But I'll go over two parts of this trade. So one trade here was, you can see the hourly trend was tested twice here. It was holding VWAP. So it was a nice area where support became, or resistance became support. And then you can see this nice trend line break. So I went ahead and start there first, and then I was kind of confidently sizing in once it was holding a higher low. So you can see higher lows forming, broke of this flag, which got me in on my first entry. When it held this higher low, I went ahead and bought again for the next entry, and I sold into that push. And then you can see it created an inverted cup and handle, and then I had to stop out right there. I think that trade was for a $67 win or so. And then later in the day, it had a nice little squeeze. I think it was this flag where potentially you could have bought this flag break, risking the lows there on VWAP. But I saw it was kind of holding up in the end of the day towards the market bell, and I went ahead and bought this after it washed out here. Could have got short strap, so I went ahead and bought here when it was holding its higher low here, expecting the after hour squeeze higher. So it did that, and it met high days pretty much on that spike. Had 30,000 shares or so here. I sold a third there, and pretty much when it was pulling back, I sold another third, and then I stopped out my last third, break even there, for a $200 and something win or so. So up a total of 246 there on FAMI, FAMI. Next trade is OCGN. So OCGN was a nice little breakout on the hourly chart. If you pull up the hourly chart and draw a flag line here, right there, it was a nice flag. You can see higher lows forming, and then you can curl here. So a lot of people that are trading the hourly or the daily time frames had a nice breakout, but it did get overextended during the middle of the day, so you can expect a pullback on the hourly chart, which it did happen. I went ahead and did capitalize on the upside of the move out here. So there was an initial flag break. So my bias was more on the long side because of the hourly chart and the nice daily charts holding up. So my first trade here was a quick $50 loss. I went in, had the right idea, just it had a little wick there that stopped me out. And then it went up higher. Then I went ahead and looked for this cup and handle break. Bought that break, sold into this pushes, sold there, and then I went ahead and re-add my shares right here on this flag break. So that's not where I bought and sold into these pushes, and then I went ahead and flipped short because it was extended, so I went ahead and short there, cover there. So those were wins there, and I was up a total of let's say 400 here, and then I think I give it away on this short here. I took a loss there, and then I took another loss trying to short, or actually went I think this was a long. So I went long here, and then I took a small win. But I give away some profits there. I think after hours, okay, after hours I give away some profits as well. Trying to buy a flag break, but it didn't go, and retested VWAPs and stopped me out there. I also took a few shorts as well, I think during this area, and I had stopped out multiple times on my TradeZero account, taking a like $300 loss or so, 250, yeah, $300 loss around this area on my TradeZero account. And then the reason being, I think there was a nice area somewhere. Let's see. So I think I went in a little too early around this area. I tried to short there. I didn't really cup and handle, but it broke out there, and I had to stop out on my TradeZero account. And then I think the trigger there was somewhere around here when it broke, and that could have been a good spot. But all in all, I think on the long side 239, and then my TradeZero I took a loss, so pretty much break even on OCGN. Next trade, AHT. So AHT was a 5-minute reversal. You can see lower highs forming, break of that, and cover on the 15-minute chart, and took it off there. And that was a total of 227. Next trade is VXRT. So VXRT had a short signal here, inverted cup and handle. Took a short cover on the 5-minute chart and bounce on the 5-minute, and I moved on from there for 338. I also took a short after hours around here. So lower highs, but it's trending the 15-minute chart, so had to be a little bit careful. So I kind of scaled in a bit here, and then I had to take a stop right up here for a $200 loss after hours on my TradeZero. And then next trade, SONN. SONN was a quick little scalp also on the 1 minute. You can see lower highs forming, breaking of that. Went ahead and tested the 5-minute chart, ended up testing the 15-minute chart after hours, but 5-minute was the target there and expected a bounce. That's SONN. Next trade is NAKD. So this was a small little scalp, I think, in the morning. There was a potential, you can see higher lows forming, little flag here. I bought that flag. It went maybe a cent here, and I took it out for a small win around there. Or actually, this was a small loss, $20 loss or so. And then I went ahead and looked for another long position here. So this was you can see that's one of my patterns. Support or resistance became support, holding VWAP, and then you can see the flag break, and then let's hold on to this pushes. So I think I made back the losses here, which is $30 and $60 win here, or $100 win there. It's totaling up for a $60 win on NAKT. Next trade is BTX. So BTX was a here this was a long trade, but I got shaken out. But it would have been a nice spot, but it was a long trap because it was extended on the hourly time. You can see that right when it crashed right down that hourly chart there. When I took a long position there, I should have risked it here, but I was definitely more cautious here and took a $29 loss. Didn't want to be into this mess, but had it break out here, I probably would have sold into this pushes pretty quickly. And it pretty much crashed like 10 points right off that push of the break. And then on my TradeZero account, I made $429 shorting here. So what I saw was a 15-minute trend here and another one here. So you can see it was creating this triangle, it broke out of the triangle with no volume or some volume, but not enough. And then I went ahead and looked for that inverted cup and handle there. And I took the short there at 72, and it covers pretty much along the way here with my last covers around 60, 66. And then my next trade, RAIL. So our RAIL was a attempted kind of long play. You can see higher lows form, higher lows, and maybe those just kind of break, squeeze above VWAP. I took a long position there, didn't go, so I stopped out when it was breaking below these prior lows for a $439 loss. Next trade was DPW. So DPW was extended. It was a little bit trickier because the float was a little bit bigger. But I attempted a short here, and it was a little bit too early. I went ahead and stopped out when it hit this prior high right there for a $51 loss. But you can see it was starting to form a inverted cup and handle, but it's not complete, and it hasn't broken the cup line. So that's DPW. ISNS, I attempted 2 trades here. I almost captured this squeeze here, but I missed it. But the first trade here was a short. I was thinking this trend line here is gonna break. You can see higher lows starting to get tight. Went ahead and put my short, stopping prior highs. Actually squeezed out pretty high there, and once it squeezed people out here, that was also a fail flag from this trend line here. And then it pushed back down lower, so that's what the move I was looking for, but it squeezed me out before that happened. And then the other position I took here was a long trade. So again, it was a long here. I should have kept my stop the prior low there, and I would, well, I did take some profits there, and it kind of washed down pretty harshly there. So you can see I went in long here at 2,000 shares at 557s. I had a fill at 567s right on this top dot, and then right when it filled me, it just like crashed like 15 cents. So it was a quick little move, and I had to take a stop there. And then pretty much a few moments later, it had the squeeze I was looking for. It's squoze, is that a word? Almost $1.50 there. So bad timing on my part, or maybe there's some news, but I took a $57 loss, so that's okay. And then my last trade of the day is Mark. So Mark was a morning trade as well. Also another trickier one because the way it was moving, it was a little slower, so it might have been a higher float. But I went ahead and took this inverted cup and handle here. It broke momentarily on the wick, and as I explained many times, when a signal breaks and it recovers and you got a wiki chart, it's pretty bullish. So I went ahead and covered pretty much immediately there, and I took a $112 loss there. It squeezed to a high of 255 before breaking down. Didn't exactly give me a signal, but I was watching it and was hoping for a lower high here on the trend line before breaking down. So those were all my trades for the day. If you enjoy this content and would like to see more, be sure to hit the subscribe and like button so you won't miss anything. And yeah, so total of 555 today between my 2 brokers, and it's the end of the month and it's a Friday, so happy Friday and goodbye April. And I'll be doing a monthly recap shortly after, probably over the weekend, and do an overview there. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in and sticking around, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, bye.